you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. President Buhari restates resolve to ensure credible polls in Nigeria as he meets with INEC chairman and the Inspector General of Police on ways to boost security for future exercise. Residents halt vehicular movement in Yola as they troop out in protest against continued kidnapping in Adamawa State. Ahead of this year's Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination, candidates and other Nigerians raised concern over registration requirements as they besieged the National Identity Management Commission in Lagos. And at least 50 people killed and over 200 injured in a stampede at the burial of Iranian General Qasem Soleimani, killed in a U.S. drone strike. Plus, business, sports, news from Abuja, the FCT, and later from our studios in London. Our website, channelstv.com, has more information on our top stories and others. Subscribe and watch Channels Television's live stream on YouTube and other social media platforms using your mobile device browser, or download the Channels TV app for Android and iOS devices from their respective stores. You can also watch us via your smart TV platforms on Apple TV, Android TV, Fire TV, and Roku TV. Well, still staying with security issues, the Nigerian army has been reacting to the comments by the governor of Borno State, Babagana Zulum, over allegations that soldiers of Operation Lafia Dole were extorting commuters plying the Maiduguri-Damaturu road. In a statement, the army explains that any allegations of misconduct by its troops will be duly investigated and the culprits will be dealt with. It, however, frowned at the outburst, noting that it is capable of reversing the gains recorded so far in the ongoing fight against insurgency and other criminal elements across the country. The army also reiterated its commitment to wiping out insurgency in the northeast and other forms of crime across the country. Meanwhile, Governor Zulum has commended the swift response of the army to his outburst on the alleged extortion by some officers. According to the governor, the speedy response from the army headquarters shows the exceptional leadership credentials of the Chief of Army Staff and many others that have done so much for Borno State and Nigeria. He also requested for their continued support in the protection of lives and property.
We want to commend the federal government in its effort to reduce menace insurgency in the state. But what we are looking now is to ensure that these communities are protected through provision of enough security personnel, but we are not in support of displacing the communities. We are behind the Nigerian military, the Nigerian police, and other security operatives with a view to searching the entire community, arresting and prosecuting all those that are involved in such nefarious activities. The government of Borno State has no any aversion to this effect. But what we are looking now is that we don't want these communities to be displaced. This will create another humanitarian crisis. And whenever such activities should be conducted, the government of Borno State shall be notified. The federal government shall also be notified. SEMA, NEMA, and other humanitarian partners, development partners shall also be notified. Nigerian police, the civilian JTF, and other security operatives shall also be notified so that we shall make adequate arrangement for hosting such IDPs.
For more stories now, let's cross over to our Abuja studios where Linda is standing by. Hello, Linda.
Hello, Melinda. Good to see you and welcome to Abuja. Now, we'll begin with an update on yesterday's unrest in Bayelsa State following the shooting of a commercial bus driver and a passenger by a policeman in Yenogwa, the state capital. Police authorities in the state say the victims were currently receiving treatment, while the officer who shot them is already in custody. The State Commissioner of Police says the culprits will be made to face the full wrath of the law. Meanwhile, the National Youth Service Corps in the state has issued a statement where it said none of its members was shot by the policeman.
I have seen them and they are responding to treatment. I want to let the public know that my sympathy and that of this command and the police force is with the family, friends, and relations of the victims. The deviating police officer, that is the culprit, has been arrested and disarmed, is detained, and investigation is ongoing, and he will face justice at the end of the day within the law of the land.
A major crisis may be brewing with regards to the registration for national identity for Nigerians. The federal government says it has been working towards building a digital identity ecosystem, which it hopes would help foster social development and economic prosperity. But Nigerians have been reacting to the slow pace of the process, particularly the fact that the national identity card will play a major role in the forthcoming unified tertiary matriculation examination.
Make it early to the office of the National Identity Management Commission. Get your name on the list and wait to be called in. But it's not that simple. A heated argument erupts over the list, an apparent show of distrust in the process. A clear message for all to see. Yet the issue of extortion has been raised, casting shadows over the process.
Going forward as a commission, we have informed security agencies to apprehend not only the receiver of this extortion, but also the giver. The law of the Federation states that the giver and receiver of bribe are guilty. So whoever is offering money to do enrollment will be arrested and prosecuted.
The Joint Admission and Matriculation Board, JAMB, and National Identity Management Commission, NIMSI, are harmonizing data of candidates for the coming examination. So no NIN, no JAMB. And these students are here to fulfill that requirement, which some of their parents say is exhausting.
Please take this NIE to their schools because of those that want to write JAM and those that want to write WAEC. You can see the stress. They will be passing through. We've been here since around 5 a.m. We are not through yet.
Now, because JAM is around the corner, 10th January, that's why you see crowd now. Because now it has become necessary for them to believe that without NIN, you can't do JAM. 3-4 months ago, you won't see them.
There are other categories of applicants who are equally frustrated with either documentation or the entire process.
I came here for around 6 a.m., yes, and when I came here, I've already seen a multitude of people here already. Only for the officer to come out and say that they can only attend to 150 personnel at the moment, and they have to be JAM bites, students first. And they told us to go to other centers. I don't understand. And they also asked for my BVN. And I wonder, why are they asking for my BVN? And I still have to go through all this process. So right now, I've been told to go to another center, while people that have been to other centers came back here for collection.
The NIN, a database of unique identity expected to be assigned to every Nigerian, is now being integrated into passport issuance, banking services, pensions, health insurance, payment of taxes, and many other government services.
With the launch of Nigeria's first sex offenders register, some Nigerians are worried that high levels of poverty and corruption may hinder its effectiveness. The register, which is accessible to the public, contains the names of all who have been convicted of sexual offences in Nigeria since 2015 and is managed by the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, with funding from the European Union. In this special report, our correspondent Kayla Megwa examines the issue of sexual offences in Nigeria and how effective the sex offenders register will be in tackling them.
Section 1(4) of the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act of 2015 makes provision for the creation of a register for convicted sexual offenders, which shall be accessible to the public. Nigeria's Sexual Offences Act details what these sexual offences are and what punishments are prescribed for them. According to UNICEF, 1 in 4 Nigerian women is sexually abused before they turn 18. Adding to this tragedy is the fact that many of these cases go unreported.
What if I say I've been raped, I'm damaged? You know, we start looking at ourselves as if the physical container that we are is our internal value. Courts are backed up with cases for a long time. So you see the length of time that it takes for one case to get decided. And then the victim starts asking herself, is this what I want to carry all over my life?
On November the 25th, 2019, Nigeria joined the rest of the world to commemorate the International Day of the Elimination of Violence Against Women. This is when the National Sex Offenders Register was launched. But how do Nigerians feel about the Sex Offenders Register?
Poor people will be on this list more than we have the rich people or the people that can buy their way out of things in society. It's a Nigerian culture.
It's not all about implementing the law, it's enforcing it. They'll start it, but at the end of the day, along the line, people will always find a way around.
So how does the Sex Offenders Register work? Well, the register keeps a record of convicted sex offenders since 2015. 15 non-governmental organizations will run sexual referral centers and feed the data they collect on recorded incidents into the register, which is open to the public and run by NAPTIP.
The employers of labor should do well to ensure they go through the register to be sure of the kind of people they are employing.
Law enforcement runs us through the challenges they face in prosecuting sexual offenses and what victims need to know.
Until we break this unhealthy culture of silence, until we make a very strong resolution to face the offenders headlong and report every infraction of the law touching on sexual offenses to the law enforcement agents and work with the law enforcement community to bring perpetrators to book, sexual offenders will continue to have a leeway to escape from the criminal justice system.
While law enforcement does its bit, the ball is now in the court of people like employers of labor. Before you hire someone, check if they're registered sex offenders. The aim is not just to name and shame, but to protect the Nigerian citizen from violence, which in many cases leads to death. How effective the Sex Offenders Register is in deterring people from committing sexual offenses in Nigeria will be known in the years to come. Kayla Magwa, Channels Television News.
To health matters, a suspected case of Lassa fever has been reported in a Lokoro community in Umuahia South local government area of Abia State after a 28-year-old was confirmed to have died from the disease. The Abia State government, however, said it is on top of the situation as it assured Abia residents of its readiness to contain the spread. The Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Health, Emole Ebulefu, says the current outbreak is the fourth recorded in the state between 1999 to date.
For this one that has happened, we've lost only one person who is the index patient at FMC, and all the contacts with this index patient have been identified. The primary contacts, there's those who treated the patient at one point or the other, have been placed on prophylaxis, whereas others that have contact with these primary contacts have also been placed on serious surveillance. We do not want the public to panic. We only want people to know that this disease has a cure, and it is only early diagnosis that will save any patient from dying.
When the news at 10 returns, crude oil prices snap out of a two-day gains as investors rethink the Middle East supply distributions. That's in business news. Plus, at least 50 confirmed dead in a stampede at the burial of Iranian General Qasem Soleimani. And more from our London bureau in Around the World in 5. Join us again.